September 30th, 2019, at the D-Day Memorial in Bedford, Virginia. Supposed to be joining a tour here. Not sure how much it's really necessary to take the tour, but they suggested it. So basically a large, generally round area, and there's a memorial down there in that domed area, and there's this pool here that's supposed to reflect the beaches, and then you've got the Overlord Arch, referring to Operation Overlord, no doubt. And rather curiously, they got this wall here that you have to be reasonably tall to see over. They've got these little water jets down here, which are, I think, supposed to look like bullets striking the water. Most of them are working pretty well, especially the ones over on that side. But they have a couple of these things that have nasal congestion, and they kind of stay on for a long time. They're not really giving the right effect, but these other ones on the right, when they go off, they just make a little splash, and I think that's what they're supposed to do. Pretty effective, I think, as a marble landing craft. Over here you've got this whole structure that we're supposed to look like one of the gun emplacements or bunkers. And you've got the statuary soldiers scaling the wall. And I believe it's this wall right here. Supposed to have the names of all the people who died on the beaches on D-Day. The names of different beaches, Juneau, Gold, Omaha, Utah, are down here in the the stone. So I better wander back and see about joining my group for the tour.
You I can take out. You I can take out. Where? Haven't had. Honestly, we have not had rain. Along the tour. This is the National D-Day Memorial, and we start here at this beautiful bust because this is Robert Slaughter. He joined the National Guard out of Roanoke at age 15. He saw his first active duty or combat when his unit was called up for D-Day at age 19. That's a hard way to be introduced to your combat experience. He survived D-Day in World War II, came back to the United States and started talking to some fellow veterans. And they discovered there was no D-Day memorial anyplace in the United States, and they felt that this day was too important just to kind of let it slide in the history books. So they wanted some place to remind people of how important the D-Day invasion was, because the outcome of it really changed the outcome of World War II. So they formed the D-Day Foundation and started looking for a place for memorial. They found a place in Roanoke, his hometown, and he was very excited about that, except it was kind of landlocked and it wasn't what they really were looking for. The town of Bedford offered him 11 acres. They agreed to it and purchased an additional 77 acres that makes this entire memorial 88 acres worth of an ongoing memorial. So they will continue to add to the memorial as the money becomes available, and they can add things to it. Outdoor amphitheaters planned, a big museum. They have a lot of artifacts that they want to be able to put on display, but can't until they have the proper place to do so. So this bust mainly is here because Robert Slaughter got it started. He was the first president of the D-Day Foundation, and we want to pay tribute and honor him for the fact that he got us started. And you notice it says National D-Day. That's the only thing we get from the federal government. You will not find another D-Day memorial any place in the United States. You'll find, like in Louisiana, has a beautiful World War II memorial, if anybody's been to it. And they have a D-Day section, but it's not just a D-Day memorial, and this is what this is. We have the National, that's what we get. This memorial is a non-profit educational facility. You're supporting it with your gate receipts today, and I see I've got some veterans that I have to thank you for your service. Did anybody today yet? This is our Homage Statue. It was dedicated on the 70th anniversary of the D-Day invasion. It's dedicated for our Bedford boys. Unfortunately, 35 members of Company A, 116 Regiment, 29th Division were involved in the D-Day invasion. 19 of them were killed on the beach. So this is in honor of those that we lost. You notice it's a soldier paying tribute to a fallen comrade. English garden is dedicated to the fact that the planning of the D-Day invasion occurred in England to pay tribute to that country. You see 6 busts around this garden. This was Eisenhower's immediate staff. These are the ones that reported to the war room and basically had the final say-so in the plans of the D-Day invasion. The first general you see right here is Omar Bradley. He's an American general. He was responsible for 77,000 American ground troops. This is one of the largest air, sea, and land operations that the U.S. has involved with, and hopefully will not be involved with anything as grand as what happened on D-Day. The second bust that we'll see is Admiral Ramsey. He's British. How many of you have seen the movie Dunkirk? The soldiers that were stuck on the beach and somebody had to come up with a plan to get them off that beach. That's the admiral that kind of thought outside the box and came up with that plan. Made him a prime candidate for the naval aspect of the D-Day invasion. He was responsible for 5,000 ships. So now so far you have 77,000 ground troops and you have 5,000 ships. You're talking large numbers when you start talking about the planning. We're going to go to the last statue. This is Dwight the Eisenhower, your 34th President of the United States. Eisenhower got the command on December 24th, 1943. The day of the invasion and the place of the invasion were already established for him. What he had to do as the commander, the Supreme Commander, was to make sure everybody knew what they were supposed to be doing. The equipment, everything was in place for it to happen, so he had from January to basically the end of May to make sure that was going to happen. This beautiful statue done by Jim Brothers is based on a photograph that you see Eisenhower talking to the 101st Airborne Division. You can see it's the 101st because the Screaming Eagle is on the patch there. These guys were ready to board the plane to do their jump. This was taken on June 5th. And Eisenhower liked to talk to the troops. Unfortunately, at this time, I always say Patton's in timeout. He's been a bad boy. He has physically struck 2 soldiers because he believed they were cowards. You don't do that no matter who you are. And his military career basically was going to be over, except this gentleman right here knew that Patton was too important to the war effort to just dismiss him and send him home. Patton apologized to the soldiers. There needed to be a little bit of time before he would get another command. About in August, he received the command for the 3rd Army, and he was back in action. But they had to have a little space before they would just put somebody like that back into service. So what they came up with is a plan called Operation Fortitude. And you see all of the equipment, all these tanks and such, but if you notice, there's 4 guys moving the tanks. They're all made out of balloon or lightweight wood. Section just prior to the ships leaving England that a minesweeper had to go and clean out an area. You can see where they're cleaned out because you can see the black lines going from England to France. Shows you where the ships went. Eisenhower had a toy company in England, a Chad Toy Company, that anybody want to take a guess?
Daryl Montgomery.
Oh, that ruined my story. This is General Montgomery. Montgomery and Patton were both competing for the High Ego of the Year award. They both were known for having extremely high egos, thought a lot about themselves. Frequently they competed for who got to someplace first, and you want some of that ability to know that you can get a job done, but sometimes it's like they went overboard. Montgomery felt that he should have been the leader of the D-Day invasion. The English had already tried it one time before and it had not been successful, so the higher-up Prime Minister and president felt that Eisenhower was a better match to lead the invasion. Montgomery still wasn't responsible for 150,000 ground troops. 77,000 of those were Americans, and Bradley was in charge of that. You know, you're not going to put all the troops under Montgomery's command, but he was still in charge of all of them. This is Mallory. He was in charge of 11,000 aircraft. So now you can see how massive we are. And this has got to be a pretty secretive operation. But those numbers, it's amazing that they could even keep this silent. Mallory and Ramsey both lost their lives before World War II ended. They did see their efforts in D-Day, so they did know that that was successful. All right, the last member of Eisenhower's staff. This is Beadle Smith. This was Eisenhower's go-to guy. He was not known for being a well-liked individual. He was not as well-liked, I should say, as the other generals. Eisenhower wanted something done, they'd go to Beadle Smith, and Beadle Smith would, yes sir, and he'd get it done. So that kind of put him in that situation. Bradley and Eisenhower graduated from West Point, U.S. Army Military Academy. The other four generals and field marshals and admirals graduated from their country's equivalent of West Point. get it?
Not yet. Will soon.
The shape of the patch? Okay. Don't want you to miss that. The blue flowers we have, it was a lot prettier. But the heat really got to them big time. On your right, depending on how you're standing, there are 2,501 American names. On your left, there's 1,914 Allied troops. This is the name of the soldiers that were killed on June 6, 1944. Now, when everybody says it's just basically one day, but it's not even one day. You've got to understand that once the invasion started, a lot of this happened very, very quickly. So, you know, 2 or 3 hours into the invasion, this is what we lost. This is an ongoing memorial. We have added a name since this started. It took about 8 years to get all these names to make sure they were valid, legitimate names. These are people that died on June 6th, not June 7th, June 6th. We added a name this Memorial Day. If you want to check on a name, they're not listed alphabetically. There's a book in the gift shop that has them alphabetically and will tell you what plaque they're on. But this is so that we can add names if we we come across another name. Unfortunately, to verify that somebody did die on June 6th, they require witnesses. Well, the witnesses are what, in the high 90s, so we're losing that generation. So chances are this is probably the names that will be on this monument, because most of the people are like, 96, 97 that are still with us. Of the Higgins boat that was used to transport the soldiers from the big ship to shore. Made out of wood, carried about 35 soldiers and their equipment. Flat bottom boat, the only thing metal on it was the ramp that was lowered to let the soldiers get off. It was made in Louisiana for the bootleggers to transport their goods in the swamp. Therefore the flat bottom, low water. They found another use for it. The problem with the Higgins boat, since it was so lightweight, is that the stationary big naval vessel, and then you had this lightweight boat in rough water doing this. The soldiers had to climb down a rope ladder off the big ship into a boat that was kind of tossing and turning. Some of these crafts were overturned because of the high water, easy to destroy, so they had a bit of a dilemma getting the soldiers into the shore. You see obstacles in the water. Those are called hedgehogs. Hitler had about 6 million obstacles going on the coastline of Spain, France, and Germany. About 2,400 miles worth of obstacles. Barbed wire, wooden stakes, metal structures such as this. Anything that he thought could keep something from coming on shore. In order for the landing craft to see these, the invasion occurred on low tide. Water level down, these things would pop up just like that. Landing craft would go around it. The dilemma was, low tide did what to the beach? made it longer. So now the soldier had longer to get into the cliff. But they had to do that because they knew these obstacles were there. If a boat hit one of those, it would blow up because a lot of them were mine. It would also tear the hull off of the boat and it would sink. So you got that dilemma. 3 words I asked you to think of: valor, fidelity, and sacrifice. Valor is represented by that soldier in the water. He knows his job. His job is to get to shore and continue going on. Fidelity. Soldier helping soldier. The one on the right is the combat soldier. The one on the left is the medic. That combat soldier is going to get that medic into shore so he can do his job. And unfortunately, you have the one on the beach, the sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice. You also see a bell. That's in honor of the 2,000 Coast Guard that were responsible for transporting the soldiers. They were the ones that piloted the small boats. The Navy had the big ship. The Coast Guard did the small vessels. So that's in honor of them. On the wall over there where the gentleman's standing, you can meet the Navy. I have to go the other direction, and you told me by the thing that I want you to go see the Navy. I also want you to look up on the wall. You see 4 figures. Valor, fidelity, and sacrifice are mentioned again. Valor is the soldier that's finally sailing over. Fidelity is on the right, soldier helping soldier. And then you see the soldier that has been shot and fallen. So that is the valor, fidelity, and sacrifice. When you cross the bridge to go to the airplane, you look at the fallen soldier. To the right of his head, you will see a Bible. You can't see it. Comment was there's not a whole lot to it. Well, there's not. If you notice, there's no guns on it. It's not used for defensive anyway. It's strictly observation. Low flying plane to be able to look at troop movements. They even used this in Vietnam because it was a very lightweight, easy transport plane. You take off the wings, you put it in the back of the truck, shove the 2 wings on the side, and you could transport it wherever you might need, you know, a plane. It's made out of wood. Wrapped with like a denim material and then treated with chemicals and then painted. The weight capacity is 350 pounds. That's 350 pounds with the gas, the equipment, the pilot in the front, observation officer in the back. So there, you had 2 skinny guys that were doing these. You couldn't have much weight when you think of all the things. If it was being used for surveillance, now they didn't pull out their camera to take a picture. Surveillance cameras in 1944 were massive, big units, and that had to be included in the weight. If 350 some pounds more weight, that thing couldn't get off the ground. 75 miles an hour cruising speed, with the pilot itself with limited fuel, 90 to 100 miles an hour. So it was not known for its speed. Pilot and the observation officer, we were told that they sat on their helmets. And you kind of go, what? Think about it for a minute. Where are the bullets coming from? Not up above, not from the side. If it's a low-flying surveillance plane, they're going to be coming from underneath. It's made out of wood, so all the bullets can really riddle that aircraft. Hopefully the metal helmets will help ricochet some bullets. This is the Gold Star Family Memorial Monument. The Gold Star Foundation is trying to get one of these memorials in each state in the United States. If you looked in the history books, the Visitor's Guide, and looked up the state of Virginia, it would call it a Gold Star state. And this is why we have one of the Gold Star memorials. The idea is if you were flying a Gold Star in your window, it meant that you had lost someone in combat. And this is to pay tribute to all those family members that have lost a relative. You see a soldier that is paying tribute to their fellow soldiers by saluting. And this is what you see, the Gold Star on this side. I want you all, now that you all are nice in the shade and comfortable, I need you on the other side.
Okay.
Because I want to introduce you to the town of Bedford. Bedford. Homeland, Family, Patriot, and Sacrifice you'll see on all the memorials any place in the United States. What you won't see is that picture. That is the town of Bedford in 1905. It looked like that in the 40s. It was a farming community then, it's a farming community now. Yes, the houses have changed a little bit since the 40s, but it's still a farming community. I tell everybody we have the Walmart and the Dairy Queen and the McDonald's, all the things we think are necessary to have a good community, but it is a farming community. Family shows the Bedford boys in Florida. They went to Florida for additional training, so family got to go down and visit them. Little did they know that they were saying goodbye to 19 of them for good. Bit of a shock there. Patriot shows you some just generic photographs. The top photograph shows you Fidelity in action. A Higgins boat has capsized, been hit, something has happened. You can see soldiers helping soldiers get to safety. Bottom photograph shows you as the pilot of the Higgins boat. You can see the two sides of the boat. You have lowered the ramp. You have let the soldiers off. There are those black spots in the water. You can see what they have to go. They have the beach ahead of water, the beach, and then very carefully you can see here's the ridge that they have to somehow get through, hoping that the engineers have come up with the plan to blow away some of that area to allow them to maneuver inland. Sacrifice. This shows the shallow grave that has been marked. You can see the mound of dirt. Here's a rifle that is in the grave to mark where the grave is. Helmet is on top, and you can see the dog tags. Two dog tags issues, one there, one is with the soldier that's in the grave. 144 feet, 6 inches tall in honor of June 6, 1944. You see the coloring on the top, the white, black, white is represented again. The structure on the top is to represent the town of Normandy. And the artist looked back up at the town, the village from the beach. He saw all the houses appeared to be right next to each other, just like you see there, so that's the town of Normandy. The word Overlord is the code for the D-Day invasion. You don't want to give it away when the naming of an invasion or a plan. Overlord was not much information. You couldn't call it Normandy Day or Normandy invasion. They might get a hint of what it is. Everyone feels that because Eisenhower was into this great crusade, that's where the term Overlord came from. I always tell everybody it's the first time that Montgomery and Eisenhower agreed on anything. So that tells you a whole lot. You see the final tribute to all those people that sacrificed so much to make it a success, with the rifle stuck in the ground, with the helmet and the dog tags represented on that tag, or on that rifle. 5 beaches are represented. You have Utah and Omaha. Those were the beaches that the Americans had. Gold and Sword were British, and Juneau was Canadian. Turn around, let's see how good you are. There are 12 nations that were involved in the D-Day invasion. The United States has the place of honor. They're in ABC order. For those of you who haven't been in school for a while, that's called alphabetical order. Starting with Australia. The next one is not Germany. Got a guess? Starts with a B.
Belgium.
Belgium.
Canada.
Canada. There's an F, or excuse me, a C and an F.
France.
France is the F. The one before it is a big long one. Czechoslovakia. France. Blue and white is
Greece.
Greece. You might not see that one. There's Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway. First country Hitler invaded in 39. Poland. What's the last one? No, not England. No, not Great Britain.
France. No, Greece.
United Kingdom. Remember, it's Wales, Scotland, Ireland, England. United Kingdom. They're very good. Last statue, and then you can cool off. Right there with all the flags. On the left side. This is the Fidelity Statue. It kind of shows you what the average soldier was wearing when he got off the boat. Lovely helmet, combat boots, a nice gold uniform that once he stepped into the English Channel, soaked up every bit of the English Channel. Doing that, you have your backpack, carries a bayonet, shovel, anything else that they felt they needed. On the front you see a satchel. That was the gas mask. World War I had just ended. You got to remember what the Germans did in World War I. They used a lot of gas. So they were coming in, the Allied forces were coming into a country that was occupied by Germany. They had no idea if they were still using gas, so they had to be prepared. Once they realized the Germans were not using gas, those gas masks came off real fast. That's extra weight they weren't going to be carrying. On their left shoulder, from about their shoulder down to their elbow, looks like a little material that's just kind of hanging there. That's a gas indicator. So if that changed colors, you better get that gas mask on real fast. Around their waist, you see life preserver. This one's inflated. That one is not. If they wore them there, they would tip over like a duck. They had to have them up here underneath their arms to be able to get some buoyancy underneath in the water. That one's not. That's inflated. What do you see on the left hand? You're in a prime position to see. The guy holding, you see the wedding band? Only color you'll see on any of these statues. Jim Brothers felt it was important for you to remember the family. The family was back home supporting these guys the best they could. Bond drives, victory gardens, rubber, metal salvaging, rations, anything. Oh, biggest sacrifice, women in nylons. You know, so there were things that were being done at home to make sure these guys had everything that they needed. They even talk about that the men, the parachute troopers, would send the white parachutes back home so the brides could use that as wedding gowns, because you're talking material that was not available.
This is in the visitor center. Bedford Fire Department.